I hate to say it, but Minecraft Dungeons is way too easy. By about a week after my first episode of recreating it, I had beaten all of the levels on the hardest difficulty, which left me with basically nothing else to do. What's not easy, however, is recreating it in vanilla Minecraft. Not gonna lie, I'm expecting to struggle a lot this episode. If you enjoy watching me suffer in this video, then make sure to hit that subscribe button for weekly episodes of my pain. Alright, here we go again.
So they're finally back!
Oh boy, wow. It has been a while since we have done this.
It's been a long time!
And I have managed to break it already. What the heck? Okay, I don't know what that was. I think it's just, it has trouble going on top of blocks. Yeah. That's okay. Well, with, problem number 1 identified, I should just say a few words about how I think this episode's going to go. I don't know quite what to add next, especially because a lot of what I think I would like to add is unfortunately going to require changes to what already exists. The biggest example of that is we're actually going to have to bring back the health scoreboard objective for a few reasons. Number 1, if you look at our health, first of all, there's a rather dramatic rounding error. You'll also note there's an F at that because health is stored as a float. The point of that is if we were to use a health scoreboard objective rather than actual health, then that would display properly. And much more importantly, having a scoreboard objective there would allow us to be a lot more flexible with health. By which I mean we could have enemies with all different amounts of health. I mean, actually, we could do that part anyway. But more importantly, we could do all sorts of different amounts of damage much more easily. Yeah, with all of that combined, I'm gonna go back to using the health scoreboard objective. Alright, so far all I've done is undo some of what I did last episode. By which I mean I've changed the melee attack to hopefully work with health. You can see in the little bar at the bottom our health is displaying properly. Here's hoping when we click on this pig it will attack it. It's displaying its health, and it is attacking it. I'll do a time lapse here because this is going to be slow. 1. Alright, it did work. That's amazing news. That leaves us with the simple issue of arrows. And actually, arrows were what caused me to give up on the scoreboard objective idea last time. Basically, I encountered a small obstacle and I said, you know what? It's time to give up. Okay, let's see if this is working. I have the display here, but it only works if I'm actively attacking the pig with melee. So in order to make sure that I can actually see how much health the pig has, I've set up this little sidebar display. I don't know which of these the pig actually is, but if one of them starts counting down, then I'll know it's working. So hopefully, if I shoot at this pig, it is counting down. Alright. We can just... Haha, got it. So, I gotta be honest, I'm not quite sure what was so difficult about that for me last time, but I guess I really struggled with it for some reason. Alright, that is amazing news. I have to be honest, I am extremely happy about that. So I think the next step is we're going to have to add a new scoreboard objective that will hopefully track how much damage I am doing. So what I mean by that is we can have a set of values stored over on the side here under the damage scoreboard that will allow us to keep track of how much damage we want the player to be doing with the melee and with the bow. And that will be helpful because it'll allow us to change the amount of damage that the player is doing, which in turn will be helpful because it will allow us to create weapons that do different amounts of damage. So I think to do that, what we need to do is change it from a constant amount of damage being removed to subtracting the damage scoreboard, which we can be doing with the scoreboard player's operation. You can say minus equals player melee health. before I set up the bow, let's see if that's working. We're supposed to be doing 5 damage now. If we click on this pig, we are in fact doing no damage. Oh, I was having it subtract from player melee's health, not player melee's damage. Player melee has no health, so that would explain it. Now, maybe? Yeah, look at that, 5 damage. Alright, our little display only shows us the pig's health when we are attacking it with melee. However, we know we should be doing 3 damage, so if it takes 3 shots, then that will be right. It's really far away. I think that hit, because it disappeared early. 2. I'm hoping this is actually working. 3. So 1 more if it doesn't die. It did die. Wonderful. Alright, now before we go any further, I think we've got to get the enemies to sort of be working on the same principle as the player. So before, what we had is we just had it work by the zombie would attack the villager. And that's all that would happen. The villager would take damage because the zombie was attacking it. But so now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to check if there's any zombies near the villager. And if there are, then it's going to have to, reduce some kind of cooldown, and when that cooldown reaches 0, reduce the villager's scoreboard. Now, I'm wondering, we already have this line of command blocks here set up to work for the villager. So can we just clone it a little bit to the side, and then modify a bunch of the commands to make it work for the zombies as well? I don't know, let's find out. Okay. I'm hoping all of that should work. I feel like this is also just a good teaching moment for how one should do command things. A lot of the, code can just be reused with a few tweaks. Look at that. I can't see because the text is in the way, but it is doing it. I gotta kill it fast. It's gonna kill the villager. Oh well, that's fine. What's more important is that it is working, and it is now flexible. What I mean by flexible is that we can summon any monster, and it can have any amount of health and any amount of damage that we want it to. Last thing I want to do real quick to make it even more flexible is add a maximum attack cooldown. What I mean by that is I want there to be a number for every monster. And that number is how long it has to wait in between attacks. I think to do that, we can just, instead of setting the attack cooldown to 20, I misspelled operation. Instead of setting the attack cooldown to 20, we can just make it equal to its max attack cooldown. With what little time I have left, I sort of want to try incorporating some custom weapons. Right now what I want to focus on getting some cool stuff for melee weapons. So I think the first step of that is going to be storing the damage data inside of the weapon itself. So what I mean by that is I would like to be able to say, give myself a diamond sword with something like damage, 10 or whatever, and, attack, speed, also 10, because why not? And then it would just give me that, and it would automatically set all of my scoreboards from that. Alright, I'm not sure, but I think I've set that up. So I decided I would actually store all of this data inside sort of a root object called dungeons, just to separate it from all the other data that the sword is going to have. So I'm going to give myself a couple of swords. I'll give myself one that's really good, the diamond sword, and one that's really bad, the wooden sword. And if we put on the sidebar, we can put, say, damage. Right now it's set to 10. If we switch to that, it is set down to 1. Although now that I'm looking at it, that should not be player damage, that should be player melee. If we get a similar thing for our attack cooldown, you can see when I'm holding the diamond sword, it's really low, which means it's fast. And if I switch, then it is really high, which means it's slow. Awesome. I am loving that. That'll make it really easy for us to give, special items. But there are also, in Minecraft Dungeons, a variety of enchantments. And I'm thinking we can all make those work in a similar way. So once again, working with my new favorite thing, which is custom data for the sword, we can add another thing, like an array named enchantments. So we can put ID sharpness, and we can put in the level as whatever we want, and then we can do stuff with that number. Who cares? For those curious, that's actually exactly how normal enchantments are stored, as just an array of paired values of a level and a text ID. Anyway, the point is, I would like to get a few enchantments going. I'm thinking to make all of the enchantments easier, what I'm going to add is just a generic scoreboard called enchantments, and then I can, store random values associated with each enchantment in there. So, as an example, let's start with what I think should be one of the easiest, which would be stunning. So now what I'm doing is I'm storing into enchantments this long piece of data. Basically what it looks for is under dungeons, it checks the enchantments, it searches for one with an ID of stunning, and then it takes the level of that and multiplies it by 20. So the point is, I'm hoping if I hold this wooden sword, which has the stunning, it does go up to 20. And if I wanted one with a much higher level of stunning, I could say level 10. And that's probably this one up here. And if I hold that, now it's at 200. So I'm sorry to take such a moderately deep dive into the, technical bits of data and all that junk, but it's really helpful, and the best part about it is it's super flexible. I've been talking a lot about flexibility this episode, which maybe is boring to some of you, but honestly, there's nothing more exciting to me than being able to just plug some random numbers into something and have it still work. Anyway, back to the stunning. What I'm hoping is to make it so that whenever the player attacks it, which is this command block here, it will increase their attack cooldown by whatever the stun enchantment value is. Let's see if this is working. We have the attack cooldown set on the sidebar, meaning that hopefully when we hit it with this one, which I believe is the level 10 one, hopefully we should see the attack cooldown there skyrocket. Alright, if we release our zombie and walk forward and hit it, it does go way up. Except it's adding to it too fast, actually. What I mean by that is if you look at the zombie's attack cooldown, it's just going up and up and up forever. Because the villager actually attacks again before the zombie gets a chance to wear off the old stunning. Alright, this should work. What I'm doing is I just make it check if the target's attack cooldown is already below its max attack cooldown. I figure that way it can still keep it stunned forever, but it can't make it be stunned for several minutes. Alright, let's see if that's working. If we fill the cage with air, I believe this is our stunning sword, so we can walk towards it, and you can see it has sort of bumped the attack damage way up. It is not just pushing it up infinitely. Alright, I'm thinking the next one I want to do is maybe gonna be slowing. Now, if memory serves, in the actual game, increasing the level of slowing increases the duration, which, in my opinion, is boring. So what I would like to do instead is have it increase the power of the slowing. Okay, hopefully this will work. What we have, all active effects on an entity are stored in their MBT data, just like just about everything else. So we can modify the amplifier of their slowness data. And what we're doing is when we attack them, we set that amplifier from the level of slowing on the sword. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself two swords. One of them will have slowness level 0, which will basically not hurt the zombie at all. It'll slow it by 20% or something, but no biggie. The other one will have level 10, which should just basically freeze the zombie in place. Let's start. I think the one on the left was the weak one. We can hit it, it gets slowness, but not a lot. Or we can hit it with that one, and that gives it slowness. That is not doing anything. Okay, that's weird. I got the data from it before it died, and you can see it supposedly had an amplifier of 10B. So, the way I see it, that means a couple of things. It means primarily it's working, and so we can forget it. But I think what it also means, which is more interesting just in the general sense, although you can give yourself slowness above levels of like 10, it does not store it in NBT data that way. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. If you give yourself a sword with slowness level like 3, one imagines that it would actually work. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of recreating Minecraft Dungeons. I certainly enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting to. If for some reason you got all the way to the end of the video without realizing that this was the second video in the series, you should definitely go back and watch the first. But either way, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all soon. Bye.